Hello everyone, welcome to my channel where I talk about how to heal chronic symptoms and illness by healing emotional wounds and toxicity in the body. And I'm talking about core wounds, the ones that are almost always from early life that really impact our physical body because the stagnated energy creates shifts and distortions in our energy system and prevents our chakras from getting the energy it needs, which distorts the energy that's going into our organs and our systems and our cellular communication, and it disrupts lots of physical things. In order for emotional energy to be that disruptive in the energy system, the wounds have to be pretty deep. But that means that chronic illnesses and symptoms, if their cause is emotional and energetic, that means we can heal the symptoms and illness by healing the emotional wounds. So that's what I talk about on this channel. My name is Lauren. If you're new, welcome to my channel. If you're returning to this channel, welcome back. Thank you for joining me. Today I'm talking about the powerlessness wound, a powerlessness wound, and how I'm going about healing it because I have been in the thick of it with this wound for about 7 months now, and I'm going to talk a little bit about my experience, and I have a feeling that I'm going to be talking about this a lot more in the future. So this might be the beginning of a series or part of a series related to the powerlessness wound because it is a huge energetic portion of chronic fatigue syndrome in particular, and I think a lot of chronic illnesses in general, and maybe chronic symptoms as well. This is a big one, and it's challenging to heal because it's so unpleasant to feel. But before I get into it, as always, don't forget to like, subscribe, share this video online if you think it might be helpful for somebody. And also, I'm taking one-on-one clients. I love working with clients one-on-one. I think it is so helpful to be able to talk with somebody who does this work, who is in the thick of it too, but has also had a lot of experience and is like obsessed with this kind of stuff, thinking about this stuff, talking about this stuff, framing it in a way that works, that can start to pull the pieces out, separate them out into manageable pieces to work with, how to start working with this energy so that we can heal these things ourselves. I think it is so helpful. I wish I had had somebody to work with when I was starting on this process. It's a real paradigm shift in the way that we think. This is not something you learn from culture or being raised by regular parents who were born in like the mid-century, 20th century. So it's a paradigm shift and it takes a lot of work to do. So if you would like to work one-on-one with me to heal emotional wounds that are related to chronic illness or chronic symptoms, anything that you believe has a root in the energetics, in the emotions of your body. And my email address is down below. I would love to hear from you. Today, again, I'm talking about the powerlessness wound. I'm just going to start today with a little bit of a framework about what it looks like. Powerlessness comes in many forms, and it looks like a lot of different things. It's also very tricky to talk about because nobody wants to feel powerless. It's similar to helplessness. So whatever works for you, if you want to think about it as powerlessness or helplessness, one of those two things can be more triggering for people or less triggering for people. And they also have a slightly nuanced difference. And so I personally prefer to think about and work with the energy of powerlessness because it speaks more to me. Helplessness doesn't resonate as much, although I know I have learned helplessness in my body from my childhood, and a lot of us do. But for now, I'm working with powerlessness. That focus on power is really meaningful for me, and it speaks to the way that I feel when I'm in these powerless states. So powerlessness is really interesting. It spans the lower 3 chakras, which is fascinating. And a lot of emotions, we like to segment and say that's this chakra, that's in this chakra, or this chakra. But a lot of emotions actually don't work that way. Our chakras are not so separated. It's easy for conceptual purposes to separate them, but there's a lot of joining and intermingling of energies that's there. And so it's actually that a lot of energies have roots in multiple. So one of the ones I've talked about on this channel that's related to adrenal fatigue in particular, but a lot of chronic illnesses also, is fear. The energy of fear is the solar plexus because it comes from the adrenals. But the root of fear is in your root chakra because it is coming from a lack of safety and security and belonging in the world that is so base that it evokes all this fear. So it's your first chakra, your root, and your solar plexus, your third chakra, where that energy is being held and communicated and stored and distorted. Powerlessness is similar in that it involves multiple chakras. Your root chakra, your feeling of safety, security, and belonging. Your sacral chakra, which is about love, interpersonal dynamics, interpersonal relationships. It's the interchange with others and other things in the world. It's also a place of love, creativity, joy, fun, spontaneity. Your solar plexus is your drive, that driving energy. It's where anger is ideally driven forward so that we can take on the world. We can do tasks. We can do it. It's our ambition, our ability to have agency and authority in our lives, to set boundaries, firm boundaries, healthy boundaries. They're all interconnected. So when we have wounding around powerlessness, and this can come from other wounds, this can be any kind of situation where you are in a chronic state or a very acute state of trauma, having to feel a horrific emotion like fear, shame, or powerlessness itself. But if you were trapped in an emotional energy for years, for maybe your whole childhood, if there was an attachment figure that you had this very insecure dynamic with, for example, if you were trapped in a negative emotional state and you were trapped because you were a child, you depended on your caregivers, you were trapped in it, there was no escape, there was nothing you could do, you were powerless. That can give you a profound powerlessness wound. You can also get powerlessness wounds from being put in situations again and again and again where you felt completely powerless, you were trapped. This can happen with emotional abuse, psychological abuse, physical abuse, when you were made to feel powerless, whether that was intentional or not. If you have trauma where you were rendered powerless or helpless, then you're gonna have stuck energy there, and you're gonna have trapped energy of powerlessness in the body, because a child has no way of moving that energy, of dealing with that energy. If you fully embody it and integrate it into your body, if you internalize it, some children are able to externalize things more and not internalize. But being an internalizer is a wonderful gift because it means so many wonderful things and qualities that you have about you. But being an internalizer means often that we're more prone to trauma. And trauma, again, is not what happens. This is Peter Levine says, it's not what happens to us. It's not what happens outside of us. It's what happens inside of us, within our body. So when we experience trauma that involved the state, the emotional energy of powerlessness, it gets trapped because a child has no way to deal with, process that kind of energy. The powerlessness is a horrible, horrible feeling. I would argue it is the most unpleasant feeling that a human being will feel if they're trapped in it. Trapped and powerless almost always come together. For me, it felt like a cage. When you're trapped in that powerless energy, you just can't get out. There's this experience in life where you feel trapped, and it's like no matter what situation that you are in, you feel like you're always trapped. Even though you're an adult and you have agency and authority and you might have opportunities, you might have enough money to have opportunities or not. That might be a manifestation of being trapped. If you're financially trapped, it's a manifestation of that powerless energy that's trapped in your body. I speak from personal experience about all of this stuff. Anything that revolves around powerlessness, I always speak from personal experience. But everybody is formed in different ways. This can also come from past lives and ancestral trauma as well. But it can come from current life too. In some way, it has to come from current life, whether it's a trigger from a past life trauma or ancestral trauma, or if it's the original trauma is from your present life. Either way, there has to be some link to the present life for this to be so trapped in your body. But you might not have memories of it. So again, children can't process this. So we have to do that as an adult. But what happens is, as I started to say, it's like you're going through your life and you know you're an adult. As you're getting older, you're a teenager, then you're a young adult, and you're in your 20s, and you're feeling like you should be able to do X, Y, and Z. And then you might have this experience that no matter what you do, you can't accomplish the things that you want to accomplish. You can't make your body move the way you want to move. You can't get the job you want. You can't get the relationship you want. You can't ever reach the thing that you want to do. But it's not because of always external forces. There's this internal thing, and you can feel it, that there's this internal cage keeping you trapped. And it is so, I want to curse here, but effing frustrating, because you know consciously that you are an empowered person and you have power and agency and authority and all these words that I want to use. You know that you have this, depending on your wounding. But I'm going to speak about my experience of it. And I know this is true for others as well. that you have this experience that you know that you're powerful in an empowered type of way, that you have the ability to make change in your life. And yet, no matter what you do, you go for this thing, you go for this thing, and you're going to accomplish this, and you do. You might have all these accomplishments, and yet there's something inside of you that is trapped. You feel trapped no matter what you do. Your life might look great on the outside, and you might look like you have accomplished all these things. Or not, depending on your situation, but there's just something that you cannot quite put your finger on. It's like, why is it that no matter what I do, I feel powerless? I feel trapped. I feel like I'm in a cage. I feel like I'm in a prison. What is that? That is a trapped energy of powerlessness. That was a wound that has become an unconscious belief that you are powerless. Even though you know consciously that you're powerful and have the ability to be empowered, your experience of life is that you're not powerful. And you keep having all these situations that show you that you're not. It's because there's a deep wound there. And the wound has created this belief, but it's unconscious. Because consciously we know we're powerful. But unconsciously, we know we're not, because we were made to feel powerless. Once, twice, a million times, every day, depending on your trauma. It doesn't really matter. What matters is that that powerless energy is trapped in your body. And what we have to do is start to make that unconscious belief conscious. Bring the unconscious to the conscious. That's how we start to heal this. But the big thing we talk about on this channel is chronic illness. A huge energetic piece of this is a manifestation of this unconscious, and unconscious is key, belief that you are powerless. If shame is coming up for you right now, that is normal. And just be there for yourself. If you're having a realization and you feel that, just be there for yourself. Take deep breaths. Because this can evoke some shame. Because we all want to believe that we believe we're powerful. And we do. We all do up here. We all know we're powerful up here. But we have no control over the beliefs that we created from wounds as children. And we are carrying that with us. Our control comes now, when we're adults and we have resources and we have emotional resource. We have an ability to start looking at these things and healing them. So that's what we're talking about. So if you relate to any of that description, that might mean that you have a significant or moderately to significant powerlessness wound that is in your body and that is being manifested in your life. Because again, one way that this manifests is through chronic illness and chronic symptoms. Because you are literally being made, you're physically being made to be powerless. When you have chronic illnesses or you have chronic things that happen over and over again, you are constantly being made to feel powerless. One trick that I have found to help figure out the wounds underneath something that's happening in our lives is that the emotion that you feel because of what the symptom is doing to your life, the resulting emotion that you feel is usually actually the emotion that is causing it. For example, chronic illness, chronic symptoms, chronic pain. One of the things that is very frequently felt when we have these or when something else pops up or something else happens or something gets worse or something, one of the things that we feel is powerless, helpless. It's like more this again. It's like I am being made powerless over and over and over and over and over in my life. It's like, why? Why is this happening? You're being made to feel powerless. But the irony is that the thing that is making you feel powerless is being caused by the unconscious energy of powerlessness in your body. Isn't that crazy? And you can do that with other things too, but that's a sneaky little trick that you can use to try to figure out the emotion underneath something. So we are being rendered powerless by an illness. Think about chronic fatigue. You are embodying the ultimate powerlessness. Your body, because it's been getting signals for your entire life from your unconscious, you are powerless, you are powerless, you are powerless, you are powerless, you are powerless. Your body starts to respond by becoming powerless. You have mast cell activation, your mitochondria start going into self-defense mode. All the systems in your body that need mitochondria start shutting down, getting less and less energy. You are being rendered powerless. Think about the energetics of weakness and physical weakness and heaviness of being able to lift your own body because you're so goddamn exhausted. what are the energetics of that? You are powerless. It's like, it feels like the universe is telling you, you are powerless. See? You are. That's not actually what's happening, but that's how it feels. What's actually happening is you are manifesting your unconscious. And the focus on unconscious is really important because it is not our fault. It is not our fault that we are manifesting this. It is not our fault that we believe we're powerless. And when you hear that and you say, I'm not powerless, that is healthy and it's normal. And it because our consciousness is, I am powerful. I have the ability to be empowered. I'm not powerless. What are you talking about? I'm not powerless. That's how I respond. That's how I've used to respond. But to be able to differentiate those two from your conscious and unconscious, if you consciously believe that you're not powerless, then you're going to have that response to what I'm saying. I'm not powerless. I don't believe that. However, if you have a chronic illness, it might be in your unconscious though. And it might be in your unconscious because of what you experienced as a child. The stuff that we experienced as children, especially traumas and deep wounds, get trapped as energies. Whatever energy we were made to feel at that time, the energies that were happening in our bodies got trapped. They couldn't move, and they did not enter the conscious mind necessarily. They may have been trapped in the unconscious, and that is your body. Your body is your unconscious mind. And so now it's manifesting. It's manifesting as chronic illness, chronic symptoms. And so this is exciting because if it's in our unconscious, we do have the ability to make the unconscious conscious. And if it is caused by wounding, deep wounding and trauma, we do have the ability to heal it. And one of the steps in healing it is making the unconscious conscious. That's what we might be doing in this video, because if this is a new concept for you, learning about powerlessness as an energy and a wound and a belief that comes from a wound, that is one of the steps that is required in making the unconscious conscious. And if you're having a realization, or if you've already realized this previously, that means you're ready to heal it. Even if you can just let a little bit of this into your consciousness, there is a part of it that you are ready to heal. We don't want to be digging around in places that's not ready to heal. We know it's ready to heal when it's allowed into our consciousness. When we hear something, we learn something, and it goes in. If it goes in, you're ready to hear it. And if you're ready to hear it, you're ready to do something with it. If it's going in one ear and out the other, just listen and just see how much of it goes in. However much of it goes in is the right amount. You might not be ready to heal it. You might store this in your memory, and somewhere down the line, when you are ready to heal it, your consciousness is going to pick this up. I speak from experience here because there was so long I was not ready to hear it. I was not ready to hear that I had repressed anger. It just didn't go. It didn't make any sense to me. I could not. It would not go in. It would not go in. I just couldn't believe it. I was like, yeah, I'm sure what you're saying is true. I feel like I can see that it's true, but I just can't get there. I just can't feel it. I can't feel it. And that was just that I wasn't ready to heal it yet. I was ready to be open to the idea that this was a possibility. And so that's what I did. But I wasn't ready to hear it. So wherever you are in your journey, it doesn't really matter, because powerlessness, again, can be very triggering to hear about, talk about. Our culture is very shaming towards victimization and powerlessness. It's very shaming towards it, and it's not fair. I want to de-shame it. I want to de-shame the heck out of it, because victim equals wounded inner child. That's all that it is. If you feel like a victim, if you're being triggered and you feel like a victim, you're being done to, it's your wounded inner child who is being activated, and she's taking over your body. That's all that's happening. It's not like a weakness problem. It's not a mindset problem. I hate all that bullshit. I'm going to call it out. That victim is a wounded inner child, and what she needs is not to be shamed, which is what culture teaches us to do, and maybe parents, maybe caregivers. It's, oh, I hear you and I see you. I'm going to listen to you. You feel victimized? That's my inner child. I'm going to go inward and listen. Now, that's easier said than done, but that's what's actually needed. But as a result of the shaming that is just pervasive of these energies in the culture, you probably have that programmed in, and shame and unpleasant feelings might come up if you start thinking about the fact that you may have helplessness or powerlessness in your body. There is no shame. I get so fired up about this because this does not need to be shamed. We all have wounding in our body, and it needs to be seen and held and loved and given compassion. And those things are things that need to be learned, that aren't always just innate. We don't just magically know how to do these things. If you think you might have powerlessness in your body, if you think you might have helplessness in your body, there is no shame. There is no shame about that. But if you do feel it coming up, that's just another energy that needs to be seen, felt, held, and loved, and just accepted. Just be present for it. If you can't send love to it, just be present for it. But the secret is presence is love. Like, if you can be present for it, then you are loving it. You don't have to be able to like send heart energy towards it. Just to be present without judgment is love. It's just about listening. This whole process is about learning how to listen to our insides and be able to navigate all the noise that tries to come into our consciousness and interrupt the listening and drown out the listening. How to be able to make enough space. And again, all these things are easier said than done. And this is why working one-on-one with somebody is so helpful. But this is what's needed. I'm going to make future videos. I'm going to keep making videos because this is like, I am seeped in it, and it intensifies and it lessens, it intensifies and it lessens for the past 7 months. And I would say the first 6 of those months were really brutal because it was an intensified version of what I've experienced in the past. I've had a lot of time to think about it, and I've known what was happening for months now, but I've had COVID for 2 weeks now. I just had what I think was strep throat, and I had laryngitis for a week. The universe has been giving me messages, let me tell you. I mean, think about the metaphor of having laryngitis for a week. It's like, shut up and listen, is basically, except a kinder version of that. But that was one of the takeaways, not the only one, because your throat has a lot to do with your authenticity, your voice, your truth. There were a lot of things I learned from that. You know, this is a time to turn inward, and it's given me a lot of time to reflect. And I know this is the moment span of my life, the few years when I really heal this powerless wound in me, because this is the deepest, most pervasive, most life obstructive energy that is in my body. And I have healed a lot of the energies around powerlessness, which is why I'm not sick anymore. But I'm getting to deeper layers now. There were some deep layers that put me into very much of a victim place, the things that were objectively being done to me, but they were because of the energy that I was embodying that I didn't realize. And the essence was I was swirling in victim on and off for a few months, even though I could see it was my inner child. It's taken months to unravel. Powerlessness is really difficult in that way when it's really entrenched in the body. And not everybody, people have different varieties, different depths, different intensities of a powerlessness wound. Mine's really intense. It's really pervaded every area of my life. So I'm just getting to a deep layer, and I truly believe that this next period and the period that was started 7 months ago, this is the beginning of a transformation of this energy in my body. And I give time frames because I think it's important to understand that these energies don't shift overnight. There is no way that when a new energy comes up, that anybody whose patterns and whose wounds have been in your body your whole life, and these patterns have been so entrenched, there's no way that somebody can realistically be able to identify it immediately and see it and shift it for what it is and go internal and heal it like that within a few weeks or something. These bigger energies, your body will let you get bigger and bigger as you go. So it starts you on the ones that you can handle, and it gives you what you can handle. You can trust your body to give you what you can deal with and handle at that time. And then as you go and you get more able, more agile, and practiced at working with yourself in these energies and turning inward and being able to be there for yourself and love yourself through these really challenging sensations and tumultuous thoughts and like the things that bubble up because the thoughts are connected to the beliefs and the beliefs are connected to the wounds. So they run these lines of energy through you, and being able to navigate that, the more practice you get at it, the more you can handle. And so you get deeper and deeper into these bigger and bigger sort of more encompassing wounds that would have been too much to handle back then, but are now you're ready for. And so just remembering that whatever you're being faced with right now, you're ready to see, you're ready to deal with, because your body's not going to let you see something that you're not ready to deal with yet. It's just not going to let you. But these bigger energies, these bigger wounds that have created the beliefs and the experiences that have just snowballed over your life and are really core to who you are and who you've been and what happened to you and through you in your life, what happened within you as a child and early life, past life, all that stuff. These energies can be really big and they can take a long time to work through. This might take me a few years to work through this energy, but what I've done in the last 7 months months, I feel so much more clear and empowered because I've already worked through so much and cried and screamed and had big energies move through me, and days when it completely encompassed me and embodied me and I was in a ball on the floor, completely entrenched in embodying powerlessness. But that can be a healing moment if even you have the smallest awareness of what's happening, that you are embodying the child, the inner child right now, and that this is temporary. Even though you can't move, even though I couldn't move at that moment, and I was in such a dark, dark place, there were days during this period where I'm just like completely embodying that victim, that powerless energy. But if you just even have a piece of you that can recognize that this is a part of you, this is not equal to you, and I did. I knew it, that this would end. I could see what it was. It was an embodiment of this energy. And even though I couldn't get out of it right then, I knew that that's what it was. And that amount of separation is all you need to be able to have that energy pass through you and not stay stuck on you. And it took a few days, a couple times that I was in these energies to move out of those. But that's what I'm talking about. These bigger energies, they can have intense moments and they can just take a long time and they ebb and flow. Different sides of the energy get triggered. You have to sort of wait to be triggered, wait for astrological shifts to happen and you to enter different energies in your life, to have different experiences that are going to bring up another facet of that wound. It can take time. So that's a first sort of intro. I mean, I've talked about powerlessness before on this channel, but this is going to be a theme for me. It already has been, but I wasn't ready to talk about it. And so it's a big step in my own healing that I'm ready to start talking about it and talking about the healing and the process that I'm going through. But I hope this is going to be helpful for you. I hope today was helpful for you. Again, if you like this video, don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. It really helps the channel to grow and the YouTube algorithm for other people to find the channel and for anybody it might be helpful for. If you want to work with me one-on-one, I would love to hear from you. My email address is down below. I hope you're doing well out there in your own healing journey, and I will see you on the next video. All right, take care. Bye.